Hello, this is Brandon with Matchware, and I'll be demoing MindView for Business Edition. But before I get started, throughout this demo, I'm going to try to point out where I'm addressing some of your requirements. And also, one that is very important on the list is help requirement. And just to address that, with the quote that I gave you guys, it does come with software assurance, which is included with free training, or free training I should say is included in software assurance, whether it be on-site training or webinar training. Our YouTube channel has probably about 80 tutorial videos associated with MindView. The help menu in the software is a little question mark, and it's the manual, and it's also searchable and interactive. We also have an FAQ in our website where you can contact the programmers directly. And with that software assurance, your dedicated contact at Matchware. So you're not going to call in and get different people. You're going to be dealing with one person with all your issues. And also, before I jump into this demo as well, I noticed a lot of your requirements are surrounded around the Gantt chart capabilities. A lot of people find the Gantt chart intimidating, especially if you're not in a true project management role, because of such a linear look to it. PMI, which is the governing body of project management, suggests that prior to the Gantt chart, you should probably use a WBS or mind map to visualize the plan and help construct the Gantt chart. This makes the Gantt chart a heck of a lot easier to use, and I know usability is one of your requirements. So with this tool, you're getting an all-in-one. You have the mind mapping and WBS capabilities in the beginning, which then help you roll it into a Gantt chart. You also have timelining and reporting built into the tool. So it's not just a Gantt chart. Like I said, it's an all-in-one, and I'll show that to you throughout this demo. I'm going to first start out using the mind map. So imagine we're in a group or a conference room. Instead of that old traditional whiteboard session or sticky note session, we're going to put this mind map or this work breakdown structure on the wall. And I'm going to start brainstorming around, maybe a product launch. Now, just pressing enter, you can get these different work streams. And I always tell people, don't worry about the position of this information, because everything's going to be based on drag and drop, which is going to be really easy to position these ideas or these work packages at a later date, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So basically, let me get that one down. Basically, all I did there was press insert to get different levels, and then press enter to get different items on that level, which obviously helps you start breaking down these work packages and the deliverables. Now you can also throw a numbering schema on this, so visually you can see that it does start at the 1 o'clock position and then just kind of works itself around. And as I mentioned before, everything's based on drag and drop, so we can move these items wherever we want. As we start moving these items around, it'll also renumber this structure for you as well. So just again, usability, how easy this is to use. Drag, drop, enter, insert. You're off and running with the actual planning section. Now this is a template. It's just a little bit bigger version of what I was working on. A lot of times this view is a bit too organic for people. If that's true, you can easily switch this into more of a traditional work breakdown structure. You also have a org chart that's built in. You've got different left, right, and right, left for root cause analysis. So it's a really easy tool to use and visualize the work as well. So let me go back to this mind map. A couple things, I'm just going to add a little bit of content, which I'm going to come back to a little bit later. But as you're doing the planning and brainstorming, if you need to type some notes on a certain branch, we've got a text note editor for you, which has the same functionality as Microsoft Word. So let's say new note, new idea. You'll also notice the Microsoft Office interface. That's done on purpose because people that use Microsoft Office, which is everybody, it's easy to jump right into this tool and feel comfortable. You don't have to learn a brand new UI. You're ready to roll with something that you're familiar with, which again speaks to that usability. So I'm just going to attach a file to, let's say, 1.3. Go up here, find that file and just double click. And then once you get this on here, if you left click, what it's going to do is take you right over to Excel, where you've got this, in this case, this marketing budget plan. Open it up for you. There it is. So I wanted to show you a couple different attachments, some notes, some files. You can hyperlink, you can put pictures, any type of content that you want to put in here you can. So then this structure kind of becomes a content management system as you're going through this project or through this process. So as I mentioned in the beginning, this is kind of the front end portion of the software. This allows you to do the planning and brainstorming, and essentially this is setting up your Gantt chart while you're mapping this out. Now what I just did was opened up a task and timeline panel. What this allows you to do, let me step back for just a second and explain that I've got these project management rules enabled. Essentially what that does is it turns this planning into a summary task or deliverable. It also allows you to define your project calendar, which we automatically change the 7-day week into a default 5-day working week. So essentially when I start putting the durations of these work packages, it's going to summarize this overall deliverables duration. So an example of this is I've got setup team highlighted. Over here on the right, I can decide the durations. I can do tasks, I can do completions. I can even start assigning resources, which I can take from my Outlook address book, any type of Active Directory. I can import these resources in. So basically what I'm doing is starting to do the scheduling while I'm in this planning stage, which is very helpful and a lot less intimidating than that previously mentioned Gantt chart. You can also show this information on the branch level. So if I just want to show all this data, so we just zoomed in there, and now you can see that some of that scheduling information is easily seen on the branch itself. So I mentioned this is an all-in-one tool. So now we just did set up all the planning, set up the Gantt chart. Well, instead of recreating this like we would normally do if we were using a whiteboard or with sticky notes, all we have to do now is just right click and we can view this entire map as an actual Gantt chart. Now, this Gantt chart is still part of the MindView software. The nice part about this is we can still utilize those drag and drop features, which speaks to that usability. So I can drag and drop durations, I can drag and drop constraints. I can even start dragging and dropping these dependencies. Show you just a second. And it starts to outline my critical path as well. Now anything that I change here is going to also be updating that mind map as well. If I double click on one of these branches, excuse me, you can see that I've got different constraint types, predecessor types, lead times, lag times. I can even set some milestones as well. And I'll come back to that milestone. I know that's a requirement. Another requirement is the wording on these labels. Now you can't make custom headings, but what you can do is right click and you can decide which headings you want to show and which headings you want to hide. Now another very important factor was the customization of the Gantt chart. So if I highlight, let's see, number 10 here, I can change the shape of that bar. I can do different fill colors if I wanted to. I can do different outline colors if I wanted to, different fill patterns. I can do this on the branches, or I can even do this with the summary tasks as well. So you have complete customization as far as what the Gantt chart looks like. I'm going to pull up another template, and you can see that this one's a little bit more color coded, and you can either do it per phase or per resource, whatever is easier for you. And again, that goes back to the requirement of the customization. Now I want to speak to the requirement about committed versus actual, and also imports and exports. So imports and exports, you can import from the entire Office package. So you can import a Word document, a PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook. It's going to create that mind map, which then you can turn into a Gantt chart if you wanted to. And of course the export capabilities are again that Office integration, HTML, PDF. One of the ones I want to show you right now is the project reports. What I'm going to do, we export it out into an HTML format, which is very easy to use. And a lot of these reports are going to, or not easy to use, but easy to share, I should say. And a lot of these reports surround themselves around task and resource management. And again, going back to the committed versus actual dates, what you're going to have is a list of all the reports you can run on the left-hand side. And I'm just going to click on Unstarted Tasks. So when I click on Unstarted Tasks, it gives me the summary task at the top. And it's graphically displayed on the right. And then if I click on Planning, it actually drills down into the planning section and shows me all the unstarted tasks. So again, this goes back to that committed versus actual dates. Task in progress, completed tasks, overdue tasks. You also have some resource management. So let's say if I click on who does what, it's going to give a list of all my resources, the tasks they're working on, and their durations or completions of those tasks. I'm not going to get into it in full detail, but I just want to click on this workload. It's going to show who's over allocated and who's under allocated. And of course you have an accountability report that even though Bill's over allocated, he only has 3 tasks overdue. On the contrary, Stacy is under allocated and already has 6 tasks overdue. So it gives you a little bit of resource management with these reports as well. Now we're back into the MindView software. Another export I'd like to show you is the export out to Excel. So again, if someone's a little bit too intimidated with these Gantt charts, we can take all this information over to Excel. And all of our exports are template driven. So they're going to look nice and professional when you export over. You don't have to spend the time making them look good. Now there is a calculation module within MindView, so if you have to do any type of costing, any budgeting, you can do that, and you can take those values, those calculation values over as well. And I'm going to take all the project information too. So when I export, just give you a second, show you what this looks like. So what it did is it pulled all that information over, put it in a nice Excel spreadsheet. The thing about our exports, they're also imports. So if I make any changes to this Excel spreadsheet, I can import it back into MindView and it'll update a new Gantt chart, a new mind map with those changes. Now another thing that was really important in your requirements is milestone visibility. Now obviously if we're just looking at this Gantt chart, milestones have 0 duration and they're indicated with a black diamond, which is pretty standard through most project management software. What we do a little bit differently is that we've got an advanced filter function. In this advanced filter function, you can just put in the property of duration of 0 value, so I can just show milestones on the Gantt chart. And I already set up this filter, which you can see. And if I apply this filter, now what I'm seeing is just milestones across my project plan. I cut away everything else and the black diamonds are now visible. Now another really nice view that's built into the software, and remember it's an all-in-one software, not just a Gantt chart. You get the front end, you get the back end, you get the imports and exports. So another view, and I mentioned in the beginning, is the ability to take this, right click, and view this information as a timeline. Export it over to this timeline. So now what you see is it's created a timeline, and again it's only showing those milestones on the timeline. Now I can take the filter off. I'll zoom in a little bit for you. Now it's showing the entire project plan in a timeline. And again, this is just an easier way to express or show the data that was in the Gantt chart. Now it's in a timeline. Great for upper level management, great for people outside of the project plan, easy to understand. You can export this out as a picture, attach it to an email. You can print this out and use it in a board meeting or a conference meeting if you needed to as well. So I've addressed all the requirements that you guys need in a software, and especially Gantt chart software. Remember, this is an all-in-one tool, so Now I've got a few minutes left. I'm going to kind of show some other features, kind of show the program off a little bit, because not only are you getting that Gantt chart, which I've shown you, but you're also getting the import-export capabilities, the mind map, the timeline, the work breakdown structure. So another export that we have that's very popular is this export out to Word. Great for meeting minutes, great for just documentation. And again, advanced export, they're all template driven, and you can decide whatever you want in these templates as well. Now, I went ahead and exported this out just to save a little bit of time. So this is what happens when you export it out. You get that image. You also get an interactive table of contents. If I click on planning, it takes me right to planning, has those notes. Remember, I put those in the very beginning, and remember that budget file that I put in. So anything we put in the mind map is going to be put in this Word document and outlines it nice. I can make any changes to this. I can then import it back into MindView, and it's going to update a new map with those changes as well. So in summary, I can't emphasize this isn't enough. This is a Gantt chart tool that meets all your requirements, but it's also an all-in-one tool as well. You get the pre-Gantt chart planning stage with the mind map work breakdown structures, and you get the post-communication with reporting and the timeline. Coupled with the exports out to the entire Office package, including HTML and PDF, and importing in from the entire Office packages as well. So it's a Gantt chart, it's a productivity tool, it's all in one. I appreciate your time, and Brandon Reeves has my contact information. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.